Okay, here we are getting ready to pour our stamped concrete slab. Today what we're pouring is a 6-stack 3/8 mix. Everybody has their own mix design and which works for you, but make sure that you have a good high quality or high concentration of cement so that we hold our cement to water ratio up, and we're trying to pour between a 4.5 and a 5-inch slump to make sure that we don't have too much water and get our cement to water ratio off. So let's go ahead and get this laid out. Okay, now we're ready to get started. The stamping of our slab. We're going to be using powder release. So the first thing we got to do is we have to season our mats. By season our mats, I mean by taking our powder release that we are going to use. We're going to be using a mason brush. We come in and we dust our mats and pre-season those with our powder release. We will do that to our skins and our mats. Now we're ready to go dust our slab. We're going to use two different powder releases, one being a nutmeg, the other one being a medium gray, to give us a two-tone variation in our releases when we stamp. Again, we're going to use the mason brush to broadcast our release instead of broadcasting it by hand. If we were to broadcast it by hand, we get what we call rollers and clumps that actually go on a slab, and if they roll across the slab, they are permanent marks. So that's why we want to use the mason brush. We get a more uniform broadcast on the surface and we get a thinner broadcast. Then we know that we're actually getting an impression of our stamp, not just the release. So let's go ahead and dust this slab and get ready to start stamping. You always want to make sure when you order a set of tools to always have texture skins. We have them in 1x1s and 2x2s. These are for doing all your detail work around the perimeter of the slab. And when you order your stamps, try and get this texture that matches to your pattern. This one today is what I've chosen. I've chosen Roman slate for one of my textures, and the other one being Elk Mountain, which gives me two variations because of the stone patterns underneath it. Okay, now that we're going to get ready to start stamping, I want to make sure that I actually get my first mat locked in place and settled into the concrete, so now that I can actually get all my other mats locked into it. I always want to take and stamp and pull the mat at me when I am stamping to make sure that my mats are pulled constantly tight to me. So as I stamp, I'll constantly be pulling them, stamping, and bringing them to me. Now that we've got our first pass done across here, now what we will do is start picking our inside mats up, checking to make sure that I have texture in my concrete. And we'll start laying them over, and we'll start working back and forth in a zigzag pattern all the way across the slab until we're done.
The opportunity, you can take these touch-up wheels and see how the squish up is here in between the in between the stamps, where the stamps come together, you can take this while the concrete is still plastic and roll those down. And detail it out while you're still stamping. I'm going around while Dave's stamping, getting what we can today, but if we can't get it, as long as we've got texture on the concrete, we're good to go. We can always come back and detail tomorrow.
Okay, now we're ready to go along the wall of the house and everything, and this is where our texture skin and our Superflex mat are going to come in a key role. We go in first with our texture skin, give us some nice texture along the house. We'll back it up to our stamp. We'll turn it a quarter of a turn so we get a little different texture. And we'll work our way along the wall of the house in that fashion. Then we'll come back with our Superflex, remembering that this is our thinner mat and very flexible and pliable, but we need to get these grout joints detail in up here next to the house. So we will lay this in, bend it up into the house as far as we can go, stamping it out, giving us all of our texture and our grout joints. Once we get that established, we will pick it up, and then John will have his chisel set here, and he will come back and detail this using his chisels, taking the smaller chisel right up to the house and tapping a line and finishing it out. It's all about the detail work to go in this to make the realistic of the stamp job. And now we are back to where we can come in with a full tool and start with a full tool again. And then we'll finish out the detail of the corner using our skin. Get this texture all the way around. And then we will take our Superflex and work it all the way around this corner, getting our tile detail. Now this small area here is so tight, to try and bend this we may damage the concrete more. So what I'll do is I'll leave this to John to come in and take his chisels, and he will make a detail of the stamp pattern.
Okay, so we just got done stamping, and we've been stamping in some pretty harsh conditions. We've got warm weather, a breeze coming across here. It's dried out our top really quickly, but these winds that have been plaguing us all day are going to bring in a rainstorm tonight. So what we want to do to protect our job is we're going to have enough time between now and when it rains for the concrete to get pretty hard, but we don't want to take any chances. So what Dave's going to do is he's going to broadcast release powder over the top of this, okay? Release powder is a hydrophobic material, meaning it's going to repel water. So we're just going to broadcast a little layer over the top of this. That way, if it does get some rain on top, it's going to repel it and it's not going to damage our slab tonight. Okay guys, Dave and I are back out here the day after, and basically, normally Dave, concrete, we want to let it set for 48 to 72 hours prior to washing off our release and stuff like that, right?
That's correct.
So 48 to 72 hours. We've actually waited 3 days. We poured this on Thursday, so we're Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Now we're back out here Monday morning, and we're going to sweep off the release powder. Then we're going to take our pressure washer and we're going to wash off the excess release, and we're going to see what we've got. So let's get to work, Dave. These are tools commonly used in the detailing of stamped concrete. A grinder with a diamond blade, either a tuck point blade or in this situation a crack chasing type blade, are excellent tools for removing the squish-ups that occur between stamps. The chisels, multiple sizes, are also good for getting in and doing detail work on the stamped concrete. It's always good to have a good arsenal of these tools when you're getting ready to do your detail work.
Okay, here we are. We've got our slab all pressure washed off. We went through, ground out all of our squeeze up to get some detail work on this. Now we've got to finish out on the slab. We have a few chips along our edges that we need to repair, and also we got a little surface cracking here from stamping that we're going to repair. One of the easiest ways to repair these little cracks within a couple days using a color hardener is take a hammer and tap them back closed. The surface of the slab is plastic enough with the color hardeners that it gives the ability to close those up. Next, for the chips, so what we want to do is we want to take a 1 gallon paint strainer, and being as we got to use our color hardener, now we have the ability to go in and repair those with the exact same colors that we broadcast on the surface. We just take the 1 gallon paint strainer, we shake out all the fines, get us a nice container of nothing but the fines of the materials. Now we'll add a little water to it and go in and do all of our patchwork. We went through, ground out, and detailed all of our joints. Now some of our joints are down to the bare concrete again, but we're just going to come back with one of our pattern releases. We use nutmeg and medium gray. I'm going to use a nutmeg and a powder brush, a foam brush, and come back and recolor those before we get ready for our sealers.
Once Dave does a final blow off of the surface to remove all dust from the release powder he reapplied to the joints, he begins using our Gem Cure 1315. This cure and seal allows the slab to breathe during the curing process and will not trap excessive moisture. A couple of light coats will protect the surface until the slab cures, at which time the concrete should be cleaned and sealer should be reapplied for long-term protection. The sealer should be inspected periodically and maintained as needed based on use.